A man in Savafk had one child, just one. And when that child died, he stopped eating. He stopped working. Every day he walked out to the cremation ground and called into the smoke.
Where are you, my only child? Where are you, my only child?
That's not a parable somebody made up to teach a lesson. That's a real man the Buddha actually sat with. And what the Buddha said to him is the reason I wanted to make this video, because it's the opposite of what any of us would say to a grieving friend. The Buddha looked at this man, worn down, unable to eat.
Your faculties are those of someone whose mind has come apart.
And said blunt, almost cruel if you read it fast. But stay with it, because what happens next in this story is one of the more honest things I've come across in the suttas about why we can't just forget someone. Not won't, can't, the man pushed back immediately.
Sir, my only child has died. Of course my mind has come apart.
And the Buddha said something that must have landed like another blow.
That's exactly right. Our loved ones are a source of sorrow, lamentation, pain, sadness, and distress.
Not might be, are. The man couldn't accept it.
Who could ever think such a thing?
He said,
Our loved ones are a source of joy and happiness.
and he got up and walked away, angry, unconvinced. On his way out, he passed a group of men playing dice by the road. He told them what the ascetic Gautama had said, and they agreed with him instantly. Of course, loved ones bring joy. What a strange thing for a teacher to claim. The man walked off satisfied, thinking, at least the gamblers understand me. I keep coming back to that detail. Not the grief, not even the Buddha's line, the dice players. Because that's what we actually do when someone we love is gone, and we're trying to stop feeling it. We don't go looking for the truth. We go looking for whoever will agree with us fastest. We want the version of the story where it doesn't hurt this much, where love is only the good part, where if we just distract ourselves hard enough, busy ourselves enough, meet the right people at the right dice table, the ache will quiet down. And for an evening, it might. It always comes back. The story keeps going, and this is where it gets interesting. Word of this exchange reached the royal palace. King Pasenadi turned to his wife, Queen Nalika, and told her, more or less mocking,
Your ascetic Gautama says our loved ones bring us sorrow.
And Nalika, without missing a beat, said,
If that's what the Buddha said, great king, then that's how it is.
The king was irritated. He accused her of agreeing with everything her teacher said, the way a student herits a tutor. He told her to get out. So Malika didn't argue with the king in the moment. She sent a Brahmin named Naivijaga to the Buddha to confirm the teaching word for word, because she wanted to be precise before she brought it back to her husband. And when the Brahmin asked, the Buddha didn't just repeat the line. He gave him 4 scenes, back to back, like he wanted to make sure nobody could mistake this for an abstract theory. A woman in Savafka lost her mother, and grief took her mind completely. She walked from street to street, square to square, asking everyone she passed.
Has anyone seen my mother?
Another lost her husband and did the same thing, calling his name down every road in the city.
Has anyone seen my mother?
A man lost his wife and wandered the same way, asking strangers if they'd seen her. And then a 4th story, darker than the rest. A married woman's own relatives tried to force her into a divorce, to hand her over to another man against her will. When she told her husband, he killed her and then himself, thinking, at least we'll be together after death. The Brahmin carried all 4 back to Malika. And only then, once she had the teaching confirmed in the Buddha's exact words, did she go to the king. She didn't argue with him. She asked him a question instead.
Do you love Princess Vajiri?
Of course I do.
If she were to decay and die, would sorrow arise in you?
If she died, my life would fall apart.
She kept going down the list, his other wife, his son, Malika herself, and got the same answer every single time. Then, almost playfully, she asked him about something that wasn't a person at all: the kingdom, the realms of Kabsi and Kosala, the land he ruled, the source of every comfort in his palace.
If these lands were destroyed, would sorrow arise in you?
And he said the same thing again: my life would fall apart. That's when it landed. Malika said,
This is what the Buddha meant.
and King Pasenadi, the ruler of 2 kingdoms, stood up, raised his hands, and bowed toward wherever the Buddha was sitting that day. Here's what I think this story is actually doing. It's not telling us to love less or to guard our hearts so tightly that nothing can touch them. Pasenadi doesn't renounce his family after this. He doesn't send Vajak away or love his kingdom any less the next morning. He just sees something he couldn't see before, that the joy and the grief aren't 2 separate things you can keep one and refuse the other. They're the same attachment, wearing 2 different faces depending on the day. You don't get to keep the warmth of loving someone and opt out of the cold that comes when they're gone. It's 1 transaction, not 2. I think this is where a lot of us get stuck when we're trying to forget someone. We're not actually trying to stop loving them. Most people wouldn't even want that if you asked them honestly. What we're trying to do is keep the love and cancel the bill. Hold on to the version of them that still makes us laugh, and somehow opt out of the version where they're just gone. The suttas keep saying, gently but repeatedly, that this isn't how the transaction works. There's no version of loving fully that doesn't eventually include this. Which brings me to the actual question in the title of this video. Why does trying to forget someone almost never work? Why does the mind seem to do the opposite of what you ask it? The harder you push a person out, the more they show up in a song, a smell, a street corner you didn't expect to remember. You'd think effort would count for something here. In almost every other part of life, trying harder gets you further. This seems to be one of the few places where trying harder makes it worse. And I don't think that's a coincidence or bad luck. I think it's actually explainable, and the suttas explain it in a way that has nothing to do with grief specifically. There's a teaching that explains this almost mechanically, and it comes from a completely different sutta, one about a much smaller kind of pain. A splinter, a stubbed toe, ordinary physical discomfort. It's called the Sallasutta, the discourse on the arrow, and the Buddha uses this image. Imagine someone is struck by an arrow. That's the first pain, sharp, real, unavoidable. Now imagine, right after, they're struck by a second arrow in the exact same spot. That second wound is the one that does the real damage. Here's the part that matters for us. The Buddha says an untrained person, when touched by pain, doesn't just feel the pain. They sorrow over it. They resist it, fight it, wail against it. And that resistance is the second arrow. It's self-inflicted. The first arrow was the loss itself. The person is gone. That's simply what happened. The second arrow is everything we do afterward to avoid feeling that. Pushing the memory away, refusing to say their name, keeping ourselves too busy to notice the empty chair. Every ounce of energy spent trying to forget is another arrow, fired by our own hand, into the same wound. A trained mind, the sutta says, feels the first arrow and stops there. Not because they don't care, not because the loss doesn't register. They feel it fully. The text is specific about this. One arrow still hurts. But they don't add the second wound of resistance on top of it. There's no fighting the feeling, no refusing it, no frantic effort to make it disappear. And because there's nothing to fight, nothing to push against, the pain has nowhere to root itself. It moves through instead of lodging in. There's one more line in that sutta that I think explains the whole trying to forget impulse better than anything else I've read. The Buddha says the untrained person, once touched by pain, starts looking forward to sensual pleasure, some distraction, some pleasant sensation, anything, because they don't know of any other way out of the pain except through pleasure. That's it. That's the entire mechanism behind scrolling your phone at 2 in the morning, throwing yourself into work, filling every free hour so there's no silence left for the memory to surface in. It's not weakness. It's the only escape route the untrained mind knows how to look for. The problem is, it's not actually an escape. It's a second arrow wearing a friendlier face. That's the part one think we get backwards constantly, myself included. We treat forgetting as an act of strength. Grit your teeth, don't think about her. Keep your hands busy, don't look at his photo. But every one of those is an act of resistance. And resistance is exactly the mechanism the Sutta says creates the second arrow. You're not neutralizing the memory. You're firing another shot into the same place it already hurts. I don't think the suttas are telling us the answer is to sit around dwelling on someone, replaying every memory on a loop either. That's not what not resisting means. The old man at the cremation ground, wailing every day for years, that's not equanimity. That's the wound left completely open. What the texts seem to be pointing at is something narrower and harder to describe. Let the first arrow be exactly what it is. One clean wound, and stop reloading. I'm still working this out for myself, honestly. There are days it's easier to feel a person's absence without flinching from it. And days I catch myself doing exactly what that householder did, going looking for the version of the story where it doesn't hurt. Some mental equivalent of the dice players who'll agree with whatever makes the ache smaller for an evening. I don't think that ever actually works for long. It didn't work for him either. The text just ends with him walking away satisfied, not healed. Satisfied isn't the same thing as free of it. He still went home to a house with one less plate at the table. Queen Malika's question is the one I keep sitting with more than anything the Buddha said directly. If they were to decay and perish, would sorrow arise in you? Of course it would. That's not a flaw in loving someone. That's the whole shape of what loving someone is. The Buddha never told that grieving father to stop loving his son, and he never told Pasenadi to love his kingdom less. He just named the deal we're all already in, whether we look at it directly or not. Love this fully, and grief is already inside it, waiting its turn, patient, in no hurry to collect. So maybe the question isn't how do I forget this person? Maybe it's closer to, can I let this hurt be one arrow instead of 100? Can I stop firing at the same place over and over in the name of trying to heal it faster? Can I let the memory surface, the song, the smell, the street corner, without immediately shoving it back down, without needing it to mean something, without needing it to stop? In practice, for me, that's smaller than it sounds. The next time a memory shows up uninvited, I try not to chase it away, and I try not to chase after it either. I just take one slow breath while it's there, feel whatever it brought with it, and let the next breath carry it past. No story about why it showed up, no fight to push it back out. One arrow, one breath, and then whatever comes next. I think about that man walking to the cremation ground every day, calling out the same 4 words into smoke that never answered him. Nobody in this story tells him to stop grieving. Nobody tells him it'll pass, or that time heals, or any of the things we say to make grief smaller than it is. The only thing the Buddha ever asked of him, of any of them, was to see the wound clearly enough to stop adding to it. The wound closes eventually either way, but it closes a lot slower when you won't stop touching it.